What I'm about to tell you about Kevin Durant was never meant to be public. The NBA's inner circle has desperately tried to control this narrative for years. Why does Kevin Durant's every move spark debate in the NBA? Because beneath the championships, the scoring titles, and the MVP awards lies a truth so explosive it threatens to rewrite everything we thought we knew about one of basketball's most polarizing superstars. Between you and me, the Kevin Durant you see on your TV screens is a carefully crafted image, one that hides the real story of how a rail-thin kid from the DC projects transformed into the most controversial superstar in modern basketball. My industry sources have provided me with information that the NBA's PR machine has worked tirelessly to suppress. They don't want this getting out, but Kevin Durant's journey is far more complicated and far more revealing than the sanitized version we've been fed for years. What the tabloids don't know is that Durant's infamous decisions, from Oklahoma City to Golden State to Brooklyn to Phoenix, weren't just about championships. They were about something much more personal. Today, the truth finally gets exposed. Before we dive into the bombshells, you need to understand where it all began. The official story tells us Kevin Wayne Durant was born on September 29, 1988, in Washington, D.C., raised by a single mother who pushed him to greatness. But what they've been hiding is that Durant's early life was marked by a level of poverty and struggle that the NBA marketing machine has deliberately downplayed. My sources close to Durant's family revealed that there were nights when his mother Wanda worked multiple jobs just to keep the lights on. Kevin would practice shooting in the dark when the electricity got cut off. This wasn't just humble beginnings, this was survival. The kind of desperation that burns something deep inside a person that never goes away, no matter how many millions they make. Durant's infamous drive, the one that makes him respond to Twitter trolls and create burner accounts, wasn't born in NBA practice facilities. It was forged in those dark apartments, in the shadow of a system that told him he'd never make it out. But that's nothing compared to what happened next. When Durant was just 13, something happened that the carefully maintained biography conveniently omits. A trusted mentor in the basketball community, someone who should have been guiding young Kevin, told him he'd never make it because he was too skinny and too soft. This wasn't just casual criticism. My sources confirmed this was a deliberate attempt to break Durant's spirit, to make room for another prospect this mentor had financial interests in promoting. What they don't want you to know is that Durant wrote this man's name down and carried that note in his wallet for years. Even after becoming an NBA superstar, that note remained, a secret fuel that drove him through every punishing workout, every criticism, every doubt. Between you and me, this rejection created the duality that defines Durant to this day. Outwardly confident but inwardly wounded, constantly seeking validation while simultaneously rejecting it. The psychological profile my industry insiders have shared paints a picture of a man perpetually at war with himself. Durant's college career at Texas seemed straightforward. One dominant season before entering the NBA draft. But here's what was happening behind closed doors. During that single season at Texas, Durant was already being approached by shadowy figures connected to various NBA franchises. My sources confirmed that these weren't just casual conversations about his future. These were calculated efforts to influence where he might land in the draft. The Seattle Supersonics, who would eventually draft Durant second overall in 2007, had representatives making promises that would never be kept. Why? Because They already knew the franchise would be moving to Oklahoma City, leaving Durant to start his career amid the chaos of relocation and the resentment of abandoned Seattle fans. The betrayal Durant felt when the move happened wasn't just about changing cities. It was his first taste of the business side of basketball, the side that views players as assets rather than people. This moment planted the first seed of distrust that would later blossom into Durant's controversial career decisions. But the real bombshell about Durant's early NBA years: the Oklahoma City Thunder organization deliberately fostered tension between Durant and Russell Westbrook. My industry source revealed to me that certain team executives believed the internal competition would drive both players to greater heights. They intentionally praised one while criticizing the other in private meetings, creating an environment where genuine brotherhood was impossible. What the tabloids don't know is that Durant was aware of these manipulation tactics years before he left Oklahoma City. He stayed silent, hoping things would change. They never did. The 2012 NBA Finals loss to LeBron James and the Miami Heat wasn't just a basketball disappointment. It was a psychological turning point. Between you and me, Durant had a private conversation with LeBron after that series that changed everything. LeBron told Durant something that shook him to his core, something about the business of basketball and player empowerment that made Durant question everything about his situation in Oklahoma City. They don't want this getting out, but Durant began planning his exit from Oklahoma City nearly 2 years before it actually happened. The narrative that his decision to join the Warriors was spontaneous or opportunistic. A carefully constructed lie. Now, about that infamous move to the Golden State Warriors in 2016. The truth finally exposed is that Durant didn't just join the Warriors because they had beaten his Thunder team. My sources confirmed that Durant had been in communication with Draymond Green throughout the 2015-2016 season, long before their playoff matchup. The recruitment wasn't just a postseason pitch. It was an ongoing conversation about basketball philosophy, organizational culture, and legacy. What they've been hiding is that Durant's decision wasn't just about winning championships. It was a deliberate rejection of the NBA's traditional power structure. He wasn't just joining a super team. He was making a statement about player agency that league executives found deeply threatening. The backlash was swift and severe. But here's what most people don't realize. The intensity of the public hatred toward Durant wasn't organic. My industry insiders revealed that certain NBA power brokers actively encouraged the narrative that Durant had taken the easy way out. They feared other stars would follow his example, undermining the control teams had traditionally held over player movement. Between you and me, Durant's thin skin and social media sensitivity isn't just a personality quirk. It's the result of a coordinated campaign to undermine his mental health and drive him out of Golden State. The pressure became so intense that Durant began experiencing panic attacks before games, something the Warriors organization went to extraordinary lengths to keep private. But that's nothing compared to what happened during his infamous argument with Draymond Green in November 2018. The public saw an on-court disagreement between teammates. What actually transpired was far more serious. My sources revealed that Green didn't just question Durant's commitment to the team. He explicitly referenced private conversations Durant had with his inner circle about feeling unappreciated in Golden State's system. How did Green know about these private conversations? That's where things get truly explosive. certain individuals within the Warriors organization had been monitoring Durant's private communications. Yes, you heard that correctly. The surveillance wasn't technically illegal, but it represented a shocking breach of trust that made Durant's departure from Golden State inevitable. The truth about Durant's move to Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving goes even deeper than anyone has reported. What they don't want you to know is that Durant and Irving had made a pact not just to play together, but to fundamentally change how NBA teams are structured. They envisioned a player-led organization where stars would have unprecedented input on everything from coaching hires to practice schedules to roster construction. My industry source revealed to me that the Brooklyn experiment wasn't just about basketball. It was about creating a blueprint for player empowerment that would have revolutionized the NBA power structure. The league office was so concerned about this model succeeding that certain officials actively worked behind the scenes to create obstacles for the Nets. The James Harden trade, the vaccine controversy with Kyrie, the coaching carousel. None of these were random events. They were part of a systematic effort to ensure the Durant-Kyrie vision for Brooklyn would fail. Between you and me, Durant's trade request from Brooklyn wasn't primarily about basketball reasons. It was about something much more personal. Durant had discovered that certain promises made by Nets ownership, promises about organizational structure and player input, were never intended to be kept. The betrayal cut so deep that Durant was willing to sacrifice tens of millions of dollars to escape a situation he felt was fundamentally dishonest. Now, about his current chapter with the Phoenix Suns. What the tabloids don't know is that Durant's move to Phoenix represents more than just another chance at a championship. My sources close to Durant revealed that he's quietly building something that extends far beyond basketball, a business empire and influence network that will reshape his legacy long after he stops playing. They don't want this getting out, but Durant has been meticulously planning the final phase of his career with a calculation that would surprise even his closest observers. The Phoenix chapter isn't just about adding another championship. It's about positioning himself for what comes next. The truth finally exposed is that Kevin Durant's journey from that skinny kid in DC to controversial NBA icon isn't just a basketball story. It's a case study in how modern celebrity, corporate interests, and personal trauma collide in ways the public never fully sees. So why does Kevin Durant's every move spark debate in the NBA? Because he represents something far more significant than just an elite basketball player. He embodies the tension between institutional power and individual agency, between public persona and private pain, between the sanitized narratives we're sold and the messy realities of human ambition. Now that you know the truth, here's what happens next. Durant's legacy will be debated for decades, not just for what he accomplished on the court, but for how he challenged the power dynamics of professional sports. The skinny kid who was told he'd never make it didn't just prove his doubters wrong. He rewrote the rules of the game itself. But there's one final secret about Kevin Durant that even my most connected sources have only hinted at. It involves a promise he made years ago, a plan he's been quietly executing, and a revelation that will shake the NBA to its foundation when it finally comes to light. I've already said too much. The powers that be are probably scrambling to contain this information as we speak. If you want to know how this story ends, and trust me, the conclusion is more shocking than anything I've shared so far, you'll need to subscribe now. Because this video might not be up for long, And what comes next in the Kevin Durant saga will change how you view basketball forever. The skinny kid from DC has one more move to make. And nobody, not even those who think they know him best, will see it coming. Estimated duration, 7.6 minutes.